Today's notes are going to be talking about congruent triangles, making congruency statements, and how to match up corresponding parts of congruent triangles. So to start off with, congruent triangles are triangles with the same size and shape. And that means all parts are corresponding, so the sides of the triangles match up and are congruent, and the angles match up and are congruent. Congruency statements are basically stating what the names of the triangles are that are congruent, but you also have to make sure you name it in a particular order so that all corresponding parts could be matched. For example, these two triangles, triangle ABC, is congruent to triangle DEF. That means even if I didn't have the picture, I would know angle A is congruent to angle D. They're the first letters named. Angle B is congruent to angle E. They have two arcs to show that they match up. And then the third pair of angles, angle F and angle C. That also works for the side lengths. So side AB would be congruent to DE. If you check the diagram, AB has one tick mark, ED has one tick mark, and so on. So basically what this tells you is this CPCTC. We like to use this in proofs quite often, and it means, it's kind of a mouthful to say, it means corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. That means if you know that the triangles are congruent, then every pair of corresponding parts are congruent. So, for example, you don't even need a picture if you look at the names again, because those will tell you the parts that correspond. So if we look at triangle JKL is congruent to triangle PQR. So the congruent angles would be angle J is congruent to angle P, angle K is congruent to angle Q, and angle L is congruent to angle R. Those are the corresponding parts. For the sides, side JK is congruent to side PQ, side JL is congruent to PR. Don't forget to put the segment marks over the letters. And side KL is congruent to side QR. Now, of letters is not the only way that you need to or can write a congruency statement for a pair of triangles. You can arrange the letters. So perhaps I didn't want to start with J, maybe I wanted to start with K. So KLJ, triangle KLJ is congruent to, I would start with Q, R, P. So make sure the corresponding parts still match up. Okay. And then you can do number 2 yourself. Problem 3, same idea. Triangle KPM is congruent to triangle AYC. So if we complete the congruent statements, KM, side KM, would be congruent to side AC. And we can make those marks. And then you can complete this. Angle Y would be congruent to angle P. It's in the same position in the name. And you'd make one arc, and so on. So you can complete question number 3. And then you'll notice on 4 through 7, again, if you match up the corresponding parts, then you can decide missing measures. So I'll leave you to do that on your own. And same thing with 6 and 7. If you know the congruent parts, then you'll know what to choose to set equal to each other to solve those. When we get down to number 8, you can draw yourself a picture, or again, make sure you know which parts to set equal to each other. So for example, DE would be congruent to JK. So in order to solve for Y, we would use JK is equal to DE So there's DE is 18, JK 3y minus 21, and solve from there. So make sure you look very carefully to find the corresponding parts that would be congruent so that you can solve for x and y. So as the rest of your assignment is to go back and complete problems 2 through 9.